The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Fast away, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Your chance to have your say on whatever you want to talk about. We're open line today through till 1, so open season, open line, open door. Manx Utilities has endorsed the recommendation to progress the Earystane and Scard site to the environmental impact assessment and design stage. The Isle of Man's onshore wind farm progresses, and Earystane and Scard looks like at the moment. So we'll see. The next phase is the full environmental impact assessment, focusing on 12 key impact areas, covering social. That will basically be everybody around, local people, noise, landscape and visual, ecology, energy and climate, airport, water and flood, transport, air quality, geotechnical, heritage and archaeology, planning, and importantly, it will provide a consultation for the local community. If you live in around that radius around Earystane and Scard, I just wonder what your thoughts are now, as it seems to be, well, it seems to be moving forward after the little monitor's only been up a short time. Get in touch. Tell us what you think about that. If you're around Ballacameen, by the way, if you live around Ballacameen or you work around Ballacameen, I just wonder what you think of the drop-off at Ballacameen. School roads around Ballacameen are becoming increasingly congested, and parents whose children go to Ballacameen High School are being asked to drop their children off nearby and avoid roads immediately adjacent to the site. The plea comes as the roads around the school are just getting blocked, basically increasingly congested, causing blockages at school drop-off and pick-up times, especially when you have buses that are there and thereabouts. The Ballacameen put a social post out just saying, please, the school entrance should not be used as a shortcut also through to St Catherine's Drive, which has been used in the past. So I just wonder, and bearing in mind that Anne Corlett, one of the constituency MHK, has been talking about 20 is plenty around Ballacameen. Now, bearing in mind, for 3 months of the year it's closed during school holidays, and these are drop-off and pick-up times that are the problems. I just wonder what your thoughts are, particularly if you live around there. Does it affect you? Does it cause problems for you? If so, how big are the problems? Are they getting worse? Mark's on now. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Andy. How you doing, fella?
Good, thanks.
Good. Listen, the other day you had a fella on, a painter and decorator, and he was talking something like, I think it was an atrial fibrillation, and he had his cardiology appointments cancelled.
Yes. And
he was unable to work now because of it. I'd just like to let your listeners know of my experience with Manx care. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer 2 years ago, and Peter Duffy, the fellow that was my consultant, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the top 10 nicest people in the world, decided that because the reading was relatively low on my blood tests, that he would do what they call active monitoring, and he would basically get me back every couple of months, have a blood test, do the embarrassing bit, and then we would take it from there. He said there was radiotherapy treatment I could have, there was chemotherapy treatment I could have, or I could even have the whole prostate removed if it got to the stage where things were getting bad. Since then, in the space of a year, the last time I saw anybody was in April last year. I've had 3 appointments sent to me by Manx Care, and all 3 have subsequently been cancelled.
What sort of notice?
One of them was 24 hours. One of them was 24 hours. One of them was a month, and one of them was cancelled the day I turned up.
So you see, I just wonder about this. I mean, obviously, Manx Care are firing off these appointments, but sometimes, and I'm not saying they do it deliberately, but it just seems like a bit of a wish list. They hope the appointment's going to happen, but I mean, surely there's a cost to all this of setting up appointments and rostering people to be available, and then it just falling apart.
Well, the one that was cancelled on the day was I think it was about the 14th of August. So I turned up 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I sat in the thing. I gave the young nurse me letter and stuff like that. And she looked at the letter, and I could see a frown on her face. So she disappeared. And she came back, and she goes, "I haven't got you down on the list." And I said, "Well, I had a letter here from Manx Care." And she actually said to me, Manx Care don't always liaise with them and say who's on the list. They just send the letters out, and then if they remember, they will let the people at the hospital know who's supposed to be coming in. And that happened the second time when in 24 hours' notice I was phoned by a lady in the urology department to say, "Mr. Watson, you've got an appointment tomorrow." I went, "Yeah." She says, "I'm afraid it's going to be cancelled." And I said, "Well, when will I get another appointment?" And she said, "I cannot tell you that." Now, you had the fella the other day with a heart condition, and I remember him saying it was a hereditary thing. So if he can't get an appointment, and I've got cancer and I can't get an appointment, what's the point of Manx Care? What exactly are they playing at?
Well, let's err on the side of Manx Care and say that the vast majority of their letters and appointments do work, and I'm just putting that down. And we will hear about things when it goes wrong. But it'd be nice to know what the proportion is of things that don't happen, should happen and don't happen, and so that we actually know what the metric is of how well Manx Care are doing with this. I mean, it's not acceptable, and for yourself, first of all, it causes distress. People can lose money because of work or can have to use leave from work because of it. But I mean, this surely can't go on, Mark.
It can't go on. And the thing is, just playing devil's advocate slightly here and going off tangents, how are we going to look after an extra 15,000 people coming to that Alfie boy wants to bring to the Isle of Man if we cannot look after the ones who are actually here and need treatment now?
And also, let's just say somebody has been offered a job in the Isle of Man and thinks, I'll listen to that radio station. They have a phone in. They may be listening right now. Could be anywhere in the world. And they could be thinking, now what's happening here?
If you cast your mind back to Sunday, there was an article on Phil Gowan's programme, and it was Tim Johnson, the enterprise minister, talking about the they this and the they that, and he was saying about how he speaks to people and they like the fact that they can approach MHK, they like the fact they can approach ministers and they can approach it's the famous they, they said this, they said that. Now that's fine, that's brilliant, but Tim Johnson needs to address the three main questions of him trying to encourage people to come to the island. Question 1, can they afford to live here? No. Question 2, will they be cared for when they get here if something goes wrong? No. Question 3 is, how is the access to and from the island? And at the moment, you'll know as well as I do, with the Gatwick flights being cancelled and the steam packet not sailing if there's a slight breeze, there is an absolute nightmare getting to and from the island. Now, if you address those three issues, everything else, like the cost of living and all that lot, will fall happily into place. But we need to sort the problems out first, the big problems. And Manx Care is nearly at the top of that problem list.
Mark, how's your health?
I'm absolutely fine, mate. Between the two of us, apart from getting up 15 times in the night to go to the toilet, I'm absolutely fine.
Good, that's great. All right, thanks for calling.
All right, fella, have a good one.
All right, good to hear from you. Here's Betty now. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Andy. I was listening to what that man said, and I agree with everything he said. It really is a bit of a disgrace, actually. But apart from that, I want to talk about the work permit because I feel that abandoning the work permit will just encourage people to come over here on spec which seems some people have been doing, and then finding that they have no support, and it seems that we will have to support them. And I don't mean to be unkind, but we're not supporting the people who are on the island already. We can't really afford to have lots of other people coming in and needing support.
The Chief Minister, Betty, said that, bluntly, Betty, we need the money. We need people who will come to work and will put money into the NI and into the tax system. So that's really, it's needs must at the moment. We have to get people into the island. There's no point just attracting people who come here to retire and to draw a pension. We have to get people here. Now, they say they're relaxing the work permit and it may come back in. What do you think?
I think that once things are gone, they very rarely come back again. But apart from that, I think what we have already allows people to come in. They should perhaps make sure that it works quicker, that's all. But I think we should still keep it. Apart from anything else, I think not having the work permit will encourage the British government to send loads of immigrants over here. And at the moment, we have a nice, safe island. I do appreciate that some immigrants I'm all for taking refugees, but not economic migrants. We can't afford them, and we cannot be the saviour of the whole world.
But remember, nobody can just pitch up to the Isle of Man and claim benefits, Betty. Nobody can do that. If you want to live here, you have to be able to support yourself, or you have to get a job to support yourself. Yes. So nobody can just come and sign on.
I understand that, but people are coming, and this person this morning was saying we need to look after them, we need to provide for them, these people who are coming over just on spec. That's what I'm talking about. This person this morning on the radio was saying this is happening. People are over here and they are homeless and they have nothing, and they thought they would get jobs and then haven't got jobs. So I think the work permit discourages people from doing that, and we should keep it. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that some of the people who read the news read it far too fast. This particularly applies to women. And it makes it difficult to realise what they're actually saying. And the lady who read it just now, she was brilliant. She was quite slow and everything, but some of them read the news far too fast, and it's not a good thing.
How do I do, Betty?
You do very well. And actually, most men do very well. Unfortunately, it's the women who seem to have the problem. Well, I have a problem with them.
All right. Okay, thanks, Betty.
And thank you. Cheers. I do appreciate being able to come on the show and say what's bothering me.
All right.
Thank you, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Women, it has to be said, have different, what they call different frequencies in their voice, whereas men are very big on the mid-range. So that's just human biology at the moment. Women have different frequencies in their voice. Sound great, though, I think. What do you think about the work permit thing? Everybody's been piping up about this. Tynwald's asked to give the go-ahead and suspend the work permit system this month. Enterprise Minister hopes it'll remove any perceived barriers and entice more skilled workers to the Isle of Man. Do you think that's going to work? Now, Betty was saying people may pitch up to the Isle of Man on spec. Well, you can't really do that unless you're going into the black economy. If somebody is working on the sly and working for cash, then, well, we all know that happens. There are places where that does happen, but that's not the way it's supposed to work. If people are going to come to the Isle of Man, and we need them, no doubt about it, we have to have their skill shortages on the Isle of Man, They're supposed to go through the proper channels and pay what's due, NI and ITIP, to pay tax to put into the system. That's what we need. That's what keeps the public finances going. So will relaxing the work permit system help? Will it help? Particularly, I mean, we don't hear much from employers on Mannin Line, but if you're an employer, will it help you if you just want to drop a note, text, email, call or WhatsApp? Whatever you want. Here's a message in from Harriet, who just says, what we do need on the Isle of Man is a better cinema. Well, we have 2 cinemas at the moment, don't we? We have 3 screens and 2 cinemas. One of the cinemas is rather aged in its appearance. The other one is slightly new, but it's bijou. So if we do need, and Harriet said we need a better cinema on the Isle of Man, we need a decent nightclub. Well, there are some clubs around, but nowhere near as many as they used to be. And don't run away with the idea that that's just a Manx phenomenon. Everywhere, I mean, literally everywhere, particularly throughout the UK, 33%, possibly more, of nightclubs have gone. Compared to 20-odd years ago, they've just gone. But that's a result of the relaxing of the licensing laws and pubs opening longer than they used to do, and also the fact that you can buy alcohol just about anywhere in the UK and the Isle of Man. So getting more nightclubs. Remember, there used to be nightclubs everywhere. The establishment, do you remember Ballasalla? Still think there's one in Port Erin. Of course, nightlife in Ramsey has gone. There used to be clubs here, there and everywhere, and now they aren't. They're mostly in Douglas. Harriet said, we need better restaurants. Well, fine, Harriet, but restaurants need clientele to survive. We've heard of restaurants that are closing. We've heard of establishments that are going where this is concerned. And Harriet said, if we are going to attract people, why don't we get better concerts on the Isle of Man? And also, she said, ambient spaces. We need ambient spaces, outdoor public places where you can just go and chill. Do you include Moorrook Park in that? It's a nice place to chill. But we appreciate it. This question of the better cinema, there were all sorts of rumours at one time. There was going to be a 10-screen multiplex put up on the Cool Road years and years ago as part of those developments up there. I just wonder whether you think that would work, or whether the 2 cinemas and 3 screens on the promenade in Douglas are just where they need to be. Or would you go to the cinema more if there was a multiplex on the Isle of Man? And what sort of, I mean, obviously you've had the Barbenheimer phenomenon this summer with Barbie and Oppenheimer, but it seems to be once in a blue moon that there's a phenomenon where everybody goes to the cinema. Another cinema, more cinemas on the Isle of Man. There are places that do show films. Obviously, the Arran Arts Centre shows films. Centenary Centre in Peel shows films. They show movies in the King's Court Theatre at King William's College and at Ballacameen as well. But would you think, I mean, would you put your hard-earned money into building a multiplex on the Isle of Man? Here's Julian now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Just a quick shout-out to Gaynor and John Dunn. Thank you for naming your cat Julian. I'm very impressed.
What they did say, and I have to say, I'm not going to spare your embarrassment, but there are several people who say, Julian, they like the sound of your voice. They don't always agree with you, but they like the sound of your voice.
Well, I don't know, maybe I should lower the tone, you know, like the old milk tray sort of advert thing. I don't know. I was just listening earlier about the prostate test and things like that. As you know, I always look at things a little bit sideways sometimes. Have you ever heard of anyone called Richard Ablin?
No, who is he?
He invented the prostate-specific antigen test, the PSA test, in 1970.
That's the one that haunts all older men.
Correct. And the guy who invented the PSA test wrote a book, which you can buy right now, and it's called The Great Prostate Hoax, How Big Medicine Hijacked the PSA Test and Caused a Public Health Disaster. And he quotes through the book many reasons. You can even just go for a bicycle ride or running, and you can have PSA antigen tests skyrocketing for days on end. And he was of the opinion that it was a useful test, but a bit like the PCR test, not really fit for what it was being used for in medical circles. And he actually never had one himself. So that's from the guy that invented the test.
My word. So...
the Great Prostate Hoax. The book is out, and it's a bestseller. I think it's out of stock quite often, but you can always go to certain other booksellers, or even the one in the street, I suppose.
No, okay. What's the upshot of this? What do you think?
Well, there are 30 ways from Sunday that you can have your PSA reading go up, and people can extrapolate that there's a problem with that, and then you have multiple parallel tests that you have, and things can be extrapolated. But even just having a biopsy is not without risk. I do have a suggestion, though, to an interesting video. If you don't want to see the whole thing, a very interesting video. The search for it is by a PhD professor called Bruce Hollis, Hollis. And it's very interesting. If you do a search for Bruce Hollis, results of a prostate cancer vitamin D trial, and that's hosted on YouTube by the University of California Television. And if you want to see the sort of the crux of it, the 31 minutes in is very interesting. You might want to watch it a few times. But basically what he's done is he has got people on 4,000 IUs of vitamin D, and then they've done a mass spectrometer scans in different frequencies of light to look at all the different natural proteins, things that increase inflammation and ones that decrease. And what he found was massive increase in cutting of inflammation using vitamin D. And you could see the people. They had a whole bunch of people that some were taking the vitamin D, some weren't. And you can see the difference in the reversal of these prostate cancers.
It's always vitamin D. It's always vitamin D, isn't it?
Well, it makes you wonder. Prostate problems tend to be related to higher or lower latitudes, so in terms of north and southern hemispheres. So, if you go above the 47th parallel or below it, you tend to find that there is a correlation with increased incidences of prostate cancers, or inflammation. You've also got things like arthritis. If you go to the Maasai tribe, they don't even have a word for arthritis, which is interesting. Okay. But of course, they live outdoors all the time, and at the equator with plenty of strong sun all the time.
Now, before we go any further, before I get letters and emails, you don't have any medical qualifications, do you, Julian?
No, but I look at these things, but if Richard Ablin, the guy that invented the PSA test, has written a book called The Great Prostate Hoax, How Big Medicine Hijacked the PSA Test and Caused a Public Health Disaster, I will bow to his knowledge.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Oh, look at that time. It's 12:30 on Manx Radio. Did you know, my friend Bruce emailed me from Ballarat in Australia. It's a gold town, Ballarat. A lot of Manx people went to Ballarat, but left the lead and the heavy metal mines in the Isle of Man when they were exhausted. And of course, they went all over the world. They went for the gold rush in America, went to South Africa. Lots of them went to Australia for the gold mines. And my pal Bruce said, did you know, and I don't know whether you knew this, but I'm telling you anyway, we have Marmite in Europe. We have Marmite. In Australia, they have Vegemite, which there's always this big argument of which is best, Vegemite or Marmite. Well, did you know that Vegemite was invented by a Manxman? Cyril Callister. It's true. Well, I say by a Manxman. He was born in Australia, but his granddad emigrated to Australia from the Isle of Man in 1851, and Vegemite was invented by Cyril Callister. I mean, it's all over the world, and Aussies swear by it. I mean, he's virtually a secular saint, Cyril Callister. He was also very big in processed cheese as well. So Vegemite, the yeast spread, you can tell any Australian friends of yours, invented by a Manxman, Cyril Callister. Well, his granddad emigrated in the mid-19th century, and so how about that? Vegemite, we'll claim it. In fact, we probably want the Triskelion on it now. Vegemite is Manx. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Andy. Just following on from Julian there. A little while ago, I went to my doctor. This actual doctor's retired now, but he was he was high up in the clinic, and we were talking about that very same subject about pharmaceutical companies, etc., and how they hijack. And he said, well, if you want a good book, he said, it's heavy reading, but it's all about the pharmaceutical companies, and it's actually titled Bad Pharma, as in pharmaceutical. And it's by a chap called Ben Goldacre. And it is heavy reading, but what it does, it explains how, in lots of instances, the pharmaceutical companies will hijack a medicine that has been, what's the word for it, not invented, but they'll discuss it. But then they say, here we see that pharmaceutical companies spend tens of billions of pounds every year trying to change the treatment decisions of doctors.
Yeah.
In fact, they spend so much on marketing, advertising, as they do on research and development. In other words, they want, because of its financial implications, they want to be able to lead the medicines, and they'll devise a medicine, and then they'll spread it around all the different diseases, and suddenly that's the world's panacea.
You see, we all grew up thinking that everybody in the medical world and the pharmaceutical world, we all thought everybody was benevolent. But of course there is, as you say, there's another side to this. These are massive, huge companies, and they have to make big profits. And of course, lots of the pension companies are invested in them. They're invested in these big companies. So there's that sort of circle. And of course, the people at the bottom of the triangle are us, you and me and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I know I have a type 2 diabetes, and since I've had that, they kept swapping to different ones, different tablets, different this, different the other, and I still got it. But the pharmaceutical companies are making a quiet fortune out of me. And suddenly, as I say, not very long ago, diabetes became the new obesity. And that was, the obesity was superseded something else. And it's the pharmaceutical companies that are, running the sickness and health, and their prices will follow suit. And as you say, a lot of big companies, insurance, pensions, etc., are all implicated in these pharmaceutical companies.
And remember, during the COVID crisis, during the pandemic, everybody was on tenterhooks while they were developing the vaccine. Everybody couldn't wait for it.
But then it appeared out of nowhere.
Interesting, isn't it?
And it's never been, I don't think it's ever been actually licensed yet. And they're still putting it out. They're still distributing and injecting, medicines, the COVID injections, etc. They're still pushing them. And now the COVID has finished as a pandemic, they're now probably charging the full price for the serum and for the injections.
I think,
so
Howard,
they're a winner all the way through.
I think there was one time when suddenly there was a sea change in the way that people viewed medications and drugs, that was in the 1960s, and it was the thalidomide crisis. Do you remember that?
That's right, I remember that, yeah.
And suddenly everybody realised that medications could go wrong, and tragically wrong in that case.
Well, they do. If you look at any packet of tablets, you look at it, and it's every side effect imaginable.
Yeah.
So they're just covering their backs in that sense. At the same time, they're making a small fortune out of sickness, and they're blaming everybody else, but they're walking away with hundreds of billions of pounds. Look at Pfizer and all those. Yeah. They're making a small fortune out of it.
And Howard, does anybody ever read that? The slip of paper that they put in that you open out and it's the size of a chessboard? Does anybody ever read all of that?
Well, I have done occasionally.
Oh, Howard.
But occasionally, and it is only occasionally. Whenever I get my tablets, which I've got to take on a daily basis, that just comes out and goes straight in the bin. But this book, if anybody's interested, it's quite heavy reading.
What's it called again, Howard?
Bad Pharma. And that is pharma as in pharmaceuticals. And it doesn't pinpoint any particular firm for any particular reason. It covers the whole of the pharmaceutical. Yeah. And they will pick out certain drugs and what they should do, what's happening to them, why they're there and why they're not, and what do they do, plus the financial aspects of it. It's an interesting read, although heavy.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
Take care. Bye now.
22 minutes before 1. Nobody's suggesting that you shouldn't take any medications that are prescribed, but I think the advice is always just go in with your eyes open and ask as many questions as you like of the pharmacist and also of your medical practitioner. Because sometimes, just sometimes, it may not be exactly what you need. Now, they will say, well, you should be paying attention. So my advice is pay attention.
Wherever life leads you, let us lend a hand with an HSBC personal loan. Maybe you've got big plans for a special celebration, new car or home renovation, or you want to get your finances in order by consolidating your debts. We offer competitive rates and a quick decision process. You'll be able to access your funds as soon as we approve the loan. Search HSBC Loans and get in touch today.
View full terms and eligibility criteria on the HSBC website. HSBC Bank PLC is licensed by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Choose Manx Glass and Glazing for supply only or supply and installation of a wide range of quality products. All types of glazing work undertaken, plus fabulous doors and conservatories in both traditional and contemporary styles. And whether UPVC or aluminium, you can be sure of excellent workmanship and guarantees at Manx Glass and Glazing. See for yourself when you visit the showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
Book now for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the Gaiety Theatre from October the 8th to the 14th. With a cast of local favourite stars, this feel-good, joyous musical is suitable for the whole family. Packed with fun, uplifting songs and dances, with hundreds of beautiful costumes, and many of the island's most talented trained children. Don't miss the Christine Wilde Theatre School and Rachel Wilde Performers Studios Joseph at the Gaiety Theatre this October.
Get ready for another winning weekend on Manx Radio.
And this week you can win £100 to spend on fuel or home heating oil from Ellen Vannin Fuels for all your fuel needs, powering industry, farms and businesses, fueling your cars and heating your homes.
Visit manxradio.com and answer the competition question for your chance to win. You can enter as many times as you like.
Then make sure you're listening to Manx Radio Breakfast on Monday morning when we'll announce the winner.
Make this your winning weekend with your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Message of Big John in Laxey says prostate cancer is very aggressive. It's a serious health concern. Screening and catching early is the difference sometimes between life and death. As with serious illness, time is very critical, says Big John. David's with us now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I'm just getting over from man flu. That's why I'm talking a bit hoarse at the minute, so forgive me. But the golden opportunity you've got now is when government now has got a new Quango head of department, isn't it? David Ashford. So there's an opportunity there for you as Manx Radio to get Mr. Ashford on, explain the situation where this particular Quango, how's it going to fit, how it's going to be responsive to the Manx people, how do we have control, like the other Quangos we've got there at the minute, where the health service one, the Quango was saying this, and then the minister says that. Who's in charge of running the issue?
Well, he's now got a position within Cabinet Office as well, so he's a member of the Cabinet Office, so he's...
Well, that makes another minister, does it?
No, well, I mean, he's chair of the Housing Board, basically he'll work with the board and the Housing Division of DOI to develop all sorts of stuff in the future. But he also has taken a role as a member of the Cabinet Office.
Well, the other thing is, it would have been better, actually, if we would have slipped him into the DOI, because Mr. Krukel's going to need a bit of help regarding the portfolio he's got, because we've had the incident at the minute where some of the members don't want to be in a department because they don't want to be tainted with something or make some decisions, positive or negative. And I see that as a retrograde step, doing that. If we have a Council of Ministers and a Council of Ministers Act, and it only says you only have 7 of them, and here we are, we're having somebody else extra in. So what do we do? Are we wheeling him in when it's his turn for a chat, then wheeling him back out?
I'd be interested to see. But
I'd be interested to see what his terms of reference are. And I'm not getting at David Ashford, really. It's just the position he's in now is potentially the conflict. I always say it's the conflict of interest personally. When government are running houses and we have this housing board who just want to absorb the local authority stock, not the rest of the authorities around the island, but the government-run ones. There's probably about 3,000 properties there, and they're going to be able to draw down money through banks to do certain things, buy land. And shouldn't we have a say in what's actually going on when we've got, and I'm going to whinge about it, the prison, we've got Park Road School, the bus station down there, Summerland, the brownfield sites, what are they doing? What's coming along? And I don't see a way forward at the minute.
Well, they just announced, those 4 proposals last week, they talked about them, so that's great. But as you say, there's all. You would have thought once you're on a roll with doing that stuff, just get it all started, get something done, because that's going to stimulate the economy.
I'd love David Ashford to come along to some of the local authorities, the bigger ones, and say to him, there's some land in your area. There's an opportunity for you to build some first-time buyers, or like we did at Onken up the top of Hayward, near Hayward Court, up near Signpost Corner there. We built a selection of first-time buyers and local authority, and a sheltered unit. The expertise is there. We've done it before, so use what they've got. You don't need to invent something else where we can't even find out what they're up to.
Okay, all right. Mate. Thanks for that. Good to hear from you. If you want to see David Ashford, by the way, he does have political surgeries. David Ashford and John Wannenberg, the Douglas North MHKs, hold joint surgeries. Both MHKs and councillors are present, and they are on the 3rd Saturday of every month at Williston School in the main Assembly Hall. Saturdays 11:30 till 1, 3rd Saturday of every month. So David Ashford and John Wannenberg and Douglas councillors will be at Williston School on Saturday 21st of October, 11:30 through till 1. Another message came in on WhatsApp, and it was regarding the cinema, says Matt, who just says, I'm a massive cinema fan. I really do think the cinema needs a massive upgrade. The Odeon has a great deal where for just under £20 a month, you can go as many times as you want to the cinema. This will be across. So a £20 monthly season ticket, go as many times as you want. The price for a seat here is £10 per person. It's not that comfortable. The options are sometimes terrible. A multiplex with perhaps a restraint or a bar would create jobs, and I think it would be a restaurant and a bar would create jobs, and I think a lot of people would go. The UK and America both occasionally show older movies or host movie events. For example, all the Back to the Futures over a weekend, or all the Lord of the Rings movies, Star Trek or Star Wars, for a small price. And I know a lot of people would love this on the Isle of Man. The Villa Cinema is doing Disney Disney classics for the 100-year event, which is great. The Palace show a few 80s movies after lockdown, but both are so dated and not that welcoming for all audiences, says Matt. Well, certainly the Palace isn't that disabled friendly with those massive steps going up to it. I think the Villa Marina does have disabled access. But any thoughts on this, on just upgrading the cinemas on the Isle of Man? Is that the best, one of the ways to go? And also, Alex just said, can somebody from Laxey Commissioners explain why there's been no street lighting on Laxey Prom for 6 weeks? 6 weeks? Here's Juan now. Hi, Juan.
But not Juan Turner.
Yes. Can we just make that straight?
We've got to make that straight. I'll have to do what David keeps doing. This. I'll have to ratify it. I had an email yesterday, Andy, and we were talking about Julian's cat yesterday, or the cat named after Julian. And I had an email from someone just between you and me, and they've named their dog Bonzo.
No, please don't.
No, honestly, they said that, and I said, "Why did you name it Bonzo?" And they said, "Because it keeps barking up the wrong tree."
Oh,
and
please!
I couldn't make it out. Couldn't make it out. Now, just going on to what was said yesterday by Bonzo. The transgender thing. Just touching on that. I don't want to be a dog with a bone with it too much. I'm not the one that started this off. I started it off here on the radio. The parents started this off, but this is a national thing. This is only people have to do is go on to Rumble and see the protests that's going on and the parents that's complaining about these things. And my question was, why was this brought in the first place? And that's really as much as I need to say on that. Is the question still has to be asked as why it was brought in the first place. It's not me. It's not a Manx thing. This is a bigger issue than that altogether. Now, I'm just going on to the news that broke later on yesterday about the Manx utilities after we spoke on the programme yesterday about this, now confirming that the Scard and Erie is their preferred site.
Yes.
So
it's moving forward. They're moving everything forward, if you like.
Very fast. But I have to ask the question of, I'm just saying here, I think they said the big companies done, is it 2 years wind analysis that they use to identify these places?
Oh, that was what they were saying. They needed 2 years wind, yeah.
Yeah, and they have two places identified, and they only have one wind analysis unit to use.
They were going to move it from the south to the north, apparently.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just wondering, how did they actually get to this decision so quickly when they haven't even done one wind analysis, never mind two?
Well, they obviously feel the need to move forward quickly.
And for what reason? I mean, this is the thing. It's not as though our power station is going to break down tomorrow. And touching on what Howard was talking about before, and I think you mentioned it as well, a lot of pension money has been put into this. This is all about money, and again, my little favourite saying, follow the money trail. And we can tie this into any conversation that you want to. You're talking about pharmaceuticals before. And 10 years ago, and I think I flagged this up before on this programme, it was over 10 years ago, they were pushing people to go into wind turbines. So a lot of money, pension money is going to go into there. So maybe this is being pushed forward as a can't-fail project. And if it does, we're going to have another crash like we probably had in 08 or 07. So, it may not be the best thing for us, but this is being pushed along by big money again. So, again, I think it's about 19% at the moment of the national grid is being run on fossil fuels. And the rest of it is made up from all sorts of stuff, including buying a lot of electricity in from France, which is produced by nuclear. So a question would have to be asked, if wind turbines are that good and they are producing that much energy, why was the price of electric affected in the UK? If we were self-sustainable within the UK with wind turbines, why was the price affected by the global market?
As you say, follow the money, but remember, a lot of pension, as you say, a lot of pension plans are invested in this, as they are in pharmaceuticals, and everybody wants their pension. People who've got a private pension, excuse me, aren't going to take a cut in their pension because the people are moving out of things that don't make money. So that's the financial model that we've got ourselves into. Pension plans are invested in massive, massive companies that simply have to make huge profits.
Absolutely my point. And that what would be for the benefit of the people is not necessarily going to be the primary object here. I think the guy from the Birdwatch Society was at a meeting at Noah Bakehouse last week, and he was saying that a lot of his letters and correspondence to government has been overlooked on his thoughts about this, which again is quite concerning. And I think Kiri's brought this up about Heathland. So it's kind of concerning that they're just going to override everything that really, laws and bylaws have been put in place to protect, just to keep the pension fund people happy.
Okay. All right.
Cheers, Andy.
All right. Good to hear from you, June. Thanks for that. A message in from Benny, who sent earlier on today, sent a message in saying, I heard you talking about Rolls-Royce nuclear power stations. How did Rolls-Royce ever get involved in nuclear power stations? I thought they made aero engines and very expensive cars. Nuclear submarines. I think a lot of the nuclear-powered submarines have reactors in that were perfected and developed by Rolls-Royce. I'll get you more information on that, but that's my understanding, is that the Rolls-Royce mini-reactors came out of their nuclear sub projects.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
At ShopRite, a big slice of our range is continually priced to match or better other supermarkets. We call it Price Match Plus, the plus being what others simply don't match. Like ShopRite Savers, low prices, choice and value you won't get elsewhere, with brands like Sainsbury's and no need to travel miles. Plus, the difference being locally owned makes. We're loyal supporters of local food producers and businesses and benefit the Manx economy directly. ShopRite, proudly locally owned.
He'll help keep your garden looking fine. He makes it easy and he saves you time. He'll save you cash. He's Johnny Trash.
Tired of endless trips to the skips? Fortnightly curb collections from Johnny Trash, the eco-friendly way to deal with garden waste. All for the equivalent of just $3.25 a week. Sign up on their Facebook page or call 477 767.
He'll save you cash. He's Johnny Trash.
Whether you like live music, theatre, film, or running around in circles pretending to be a superhero, you'll love Villa Gaiety. With Dragon's Castle Play Area, Broadway Cinema, Gaiety Theatre and the Villa Marina. Check out the upcoming events at villagaiety.com or call 600 555. Villa Gaiety, the island's premier entertainment venue.
Gilg J as Gilg Nera.
A Gilg, the Manx Gaelic, Ginian Amera, the mother tongue of Ellan Vannin, the Isle of Man. You can catch up with more of Manx Radio's Manx language programmes in the weekly podcast Abershen Rish. Say that again. Shene, that's the one.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hi there. This talk of cinemas just reminded me. The Manxman has not got a cinema for over, nearly a 4-hour journey. No cinema. There's all these different lounges, lots of space, and the wasted space in the corridors, and all the cabins. It just amazed me about the sort of waste of space. I don't know how many of the cabins get utilised.
I didn't know that, so there's no cinema on board, not even a tiny thing.
No, I believed I couldn't find one, and they said not. It's amazing. The only thing about the Manxman is there's a nice good display up in the private cabins, because somebody left the door unlocked, it didn't shut right, about Dunkirk. The steam packet boats at Dunkirk and on the invasion.
What was your view? What did you think to the Manxman?
A lot of wasted space. And it looks like she might be sold off to someone in the Mediterranean, I'd have thought. the way she's built.
What as a ferry? You mean?
Yes, I would have thought. Yeah, she just doesn't seem right for the Irish Sea. Basically, where you want to have a seat and sit down for nearly 4 hours, and there's plenty of seats, but there's all these private lounges. Well, not private. You've got reserve a seat, but that's another matter. Don't know. Just seems a lot of wasted space.
Okay. Well, I didn't know about the cinema, but that's a point.
Yeah, the cinema's okay.
Well, worth making. Thanks for that. It's good to hear from you. Of course, Lady of Man had her own cinema. Nothing but a cinema, wasn't it? It was just a big room. And I think the Fastgrass have got had children's cinemas as well. Tommy's on now. Hi, Tommy.
Oh, just a quick aside before you finish. On the noon break, there was an advertisement from cyber security. And I wouldn't have minded, Abney, but you gave the time and the venue as well. I mean, that's not very secure, is it?
Right. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
We'll put you in charge of security. Thanks for that. Well done to Blake Kelly, by the way, who was our latest winning weekend winner. Blake won a pair of motorbike tyres up to the value of £250 from H&H Motorcycles last weekend. So all the best to you, Blake. Andy said, regarding insurance of new EVs, I found the complete opposite of statements made yesterday. I'm in the process of changing to a full EV from a petrol version of the same vehicle. My insurance reduces by about 1%. Completely opposite to the caller's internet-generated information. So, accurate information from the island's expert company is always better to believe. P.S. EVs are astonishing to drive. Trying one, I thought I must have one of these. Southern Andy, that is, and his new EV. That's it. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Beth's on Mannin Line tomorrow. Have a great weekend.
WINT